Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode or edition of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. I've got a guest here that good old Dave Tedder out in Vegas always hooks me up with his country's finest. And I got Matt Whiteman all the way from Wyoming. And believe it or not, Matt, we up here in Canada know exactly where that is because, being close to Colorado, we're big hockey fans, and there's a guy that lives in my neck of the woods here that's actually playing for the Colorado Avalanche. So that's pretty cool. Welcome.
Oh, yes, sir. Nathan McKinnon, huh?
Nathan McKinnon, yes.
Yes, I attended a couple of those playoff games when we won the cup, so it was very exciting.
Yes, he grew up about 10 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, and you know what? Good guy. He's really funny. But alas, this is about you, sir.
Yeah.
So welcome. The first thing Dave said to me when he sent me the note and said that we got this all wrapped up, and he said, you were doing some press here. He said, make sure you cover Download Festival because these guys are on it. So, for starters, Anti-Saint is the band. You guys are doing Download Festival. Tell us a little bit about that, Matt.
Yeah, we are going across the pond to play Download 20. It's a 4-night special edition. Metallica is playing 2 nights, different sets, and I'm so stoked to be part of it. It's just so surreal to see my name and all of these other massive acts that I've grown up and just, idolized and just to be on that same poster is wild.
Very cool. And so how does something like that for you guys happen? Are you working with an agent? Is it phone calls on your own? How do you land that show?
Yeah, so last year we did a tour with Drowning Pool here in the States in November, and there were some industry people checking out that tour as a whole, and one of them submitted on our behalf, and we got an offer to play.
So you're, without knowing it, you just brought up a topic that I've covered a little bit in the last couple of weeks, and that's networking. And a lot of musicians, I've been a musician in my whole life, and I know how important networking is. This is a good example of, you guys go out and, as Priest says, delivering the goods, but then you're networking to push your product forward. What's the importance of that, and what has it been for you?
Yeah, it's huge, because everybody is connected now these days with social media, and you have to do way more than just make the post about here's my new music or here's what we're doing. You need to find those people that can actually get you the opportunities like this and to just be approachable. Like everybody's trying to make it, and it heavily relies on other people getting you there. You can't do it by yourself.
That's interesting. I follow Matt Starr, who plays drums with Ace Frehley, and he's got a great line. He goes, the things you can control are your network and your work ethic. The things that you can't control is the timing. But if you're taking care of those first 2 things, the timing will sort of take care of itself. Have you found that that's been working that way for you, or have you guys really had to knock on doors and whatnot to make things happen?
I mean, it's been a little bit of both. With stuff like Download here, it definitely establishes a lot of credibility, and it's easier to pursue other opportunities like festivals and things like that by having this. It's kind of like a resume, So like leading up to this point, with Drowning Pool and all that stuff, that all came from networking and just, that relationship started like 10 years ago when we were a live performance special effects company, and we just hit up Drowning Pool in Denver, and we're like, hey, we got cryo, would you guys like to use this stuff? And they did, and it just, one thing leads to another, and then you get opportunities. So
I think it's very important, though. You just nailed something. Yeah, there's the old adage of don't ask, don't get. So you put yourself in the line of fire and you asked. But then I'm guessing you kept in touch. You followed up, because I think what sometimes and this is just my personal opinion, but I think sometimes musicians wait for things to happen as opposed to go out and grab it by the throat and reel it in.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. I mean, there's so much more than just playing music that you have to do. And I think that's the biggest, like, difference between people getting opportunities and not. So
prior to download that's coming up, where had you guys been playing? Like, you did that tour last year. Was that the last thing on your docket, or have you guys been getting some shows in, recently?
Yeah, so that was the last time we were out. We've been taking this first half of the year, figuring out download and everything coming in like the summer, fall, hopefully. So it's been a bit of, just planning out the year and also writing new material. So we've been heavily involved in that.
Well, and I will say, Dave sent me your album, and, I started this podcast, it'll be 3 years in April. And to be honest with you, I had a bunch of shows that I was playing, and then they all get shut down because we know what happened and we don't want to bring it up anymore. But I figured, hey, you know what? 4 weeks, I'll be back at it. 4 weeks became 3 years. I always like when I get material from a band that I'm not familiar with. And I want to talk to you about that recording because fantastic recording, sounds great, tunes are cool. Where did you guys do that? How long did it take? Was it self-produced? What was the deal behind that?
Yeah, so we started recording that back in 2018. We did it all in-house in Denver, Colorado, at a studio called The Keep, which we have done some previous records and EPs at. So, we really knew the people there in the room, and it's a really cool place. As far as like the album, it was kind of like, it was this whole concept based on like 1984 and George Orwell. And we wanted to do it in 3 pieces. And we wanted to take each piece and tour with each piece as a separate EP. So that's why it's broken up in those chapters. And then, of course, like I said, pandemic hit. So that threw everything off. And we were just sitting on that album. And, we're like, all right, we need to release this thing. And so we did a release midway through the pandemic. And it was cool just to get the music out to like our friends and inner fans, the ones that really pay attention and really support you. We did it for them. And then about a year after, when things started getting better, we did a real release here in Cheyenne at a big show at a very cool historical venue called the Lincoln here, like 100-year-old theater. And it's just, it looks like they kept it in pristine condition. So that was a really cool way to just jumpstart everything. And from there, that was when the Drowning Pool tour got established in November. And then, we got download from that. So it just kind of picked up. And I can really appreciate it more after not being able to do it for so long in that time frame.
It's like we rehearsed this because my next question was going to be this. What I'm finding, and I don't want to, say, the music fan, or, anything but fantastic. I'm starting to see in some pockets, in some areas, that people are now once again taking live music for granted. They have a very short memory of you didn't have it, you didn't have access to it, it's here again, and now they're almost taking it for granted. Not everybody, but in some pockets. Do you see that happening down there, or is everybody just rabid for what's going on?
It's hard to say. That Drowning Pool tour, we had some crowds that were just absolutely embracing it the whole time. And then, we did have a couple markets where it was the same stuff, like, here's the cell phones up in the air, and people are just, kind of laid back and not really into it. In terms of what's happening here in Cheyenne, is they are just an insane crowd. And I'm not sure if that's because, like, shows don't happen a whole lot out here. So when they do roll through, it's like, the best thing ever. But it's definitely different from here than most of the country.
Well, and we're just coming up on quickly on the end of this segment, and we'll get to segment 2. But one of the things that up here when everything opened up, we had a soft opening, and then they pulled it back, and then a soft opening, and they pulled it back, and then they creeped up, and then they pulled it back a little bit, and then finally it was out. And the first couple shows that I personally did, the crowds were absolutely amazing. I've been fortunate because I work my butt off promoting it, but I've seen other areas where like we've had a couple of concerts that are coming here that are like, numbers ain't great so far. That's why I asked you the question. But I mean, I guess people you got to remind people where things were a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's we're not fully there yet, but we're definitely back on track. And just actually an hour ago, Download announced that Saturday is completely sold out. So, like, huge festivals are back and swinging. So, it's cool to see. It's great to see again. Because, like, you could ask me if we were having this conversation 2 years ago in the thick of it, if these opportunities would exist. And I honestly could not tell you. Like, I personally didn't believe I would play another show 2 years ago. Just like, because there was no indication of how long, the pandemic was going to take and all that stuff. So I think that's why people are quick to forget, because we want to forget.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was looking back at some old shows today that I did, and I mean, like, of my podcast, and I remember one, and I was sitting there looking at it, and I remember exactly what was going on, and it was frustration because the government wasn't being very upfront with what was happening. It was despair because you just wanted to play. It was a whole bunch of things, and I just, in the pit of my stomach, I'm going, thank God that we're out of that. And so, hopefully you're right. Hopefully people just say, okay, it was almost taken from us. Let's support it again.
Yeah.
Well, that's segment 1, my friend. Segment 2, we want to get back on Download here. We'll have more after this.